Well, I think I was a bit of a nerdy child. I loved learning about the human body, and when all my friends were playing basketball and going to Brownies, I joined St John Ambulance at a really young age and learned how to do first aid and competed in St John Ambulance first aid competitions at the age of 10. And then I guess as I went through high school, I started looking down microscopes and thinking about the body and health and disease in a wider, slightly wider context, and thinking, wow, our bodies are constantly fending off these wayward invaders all day, every day, and isn't that incredible? And I wanted to learn more. So I guess then that took me to university, and I majored in microbiology and immunology, which then led on to a PhD in viral immunology and trying to understand how these white blood cell soldiers do their job. I'm a laboratory head here at Walter and Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research, where I run a small team looking at understanding T cells and their role in cancer immunotherapy, and also understanding the T cell immunological synapse. I think some of the main highlights for me have been on those days where you get a scientific result in the lab and you know that no one else knows what you know. You know, this is the really great, exciting thing about working on the cutting edge, is that it hasn't made it to publication yet. It's not in a textbook. You have knowledge, you know, about the way something works, and you're the first one on planet Earth to discover it. Is really exciting. Oh, I think as scientists we face a lot of challenges. You know, you have to be creative. You have to sort of dig deep sometimes. Science isn't a dusty, boring profession. It's quite creative. You have to be bold and brave, and so you have to find the energy for that. And you're constantly putting yourself out there for peer review. The scientific method is all about, you know, coming up with a hypothesis, designing an experiment to test your hypothesis, and then to see what's true. And then you put it out there for your colleagues and your competitors to test that, and they try and pick holes in it and try and destroy that. And so, you know, you have to be very resilient. You have to have a very thick skin. And you also need to be a good communicator, because I think ultimately it's our obligation as scientists to also help increase the scientific literacy of the public, because, you know, the more people understand the world and their place in it, they can make more informed choices, of course, about, you know, their place on planet Earth and their role in global warming, down through to why they should be vaccinating their children. Well, science is everything in everyone's life, isn't it? I mean, imagine a world without science. It would be pretty bleak. So imagine a world with no technology or electricity or communication or travel. Imagine a world with no medicines. Imagine a world where, you know, there are no antibiotics or there are no vaccinations. I mean, it's a pretty grim and dismal world. So science is all around us all the time, and I think, you know, for anyone considering a career in the sciences, that's what I would tell my students, is that science is everywhere. It is all around us. It's colourful and it's beautiful, and it's all about making observations and then interpretations. I think when I was at high school, I was considering a number of different options. I think I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and in a lot of ways I still don't. And I think I would just to tell myself to follow my passions, because I think ultimately if you do something that you're really interested in and it makes you happy, then that's the best way to achieve great results, which in my area can result in, you know, innovation and discovery. So my advice to my 16-year-old self would be to hang in there, to aim high, to surround yourself with good mentors, to learn how to write well, and to never stop and to never give up on that innate curiosity that I had. A typical day starts at about 6 a.m. with rolling out of bed, checking the emails that have come in overnight from international collaborators, and then I have a 6-year-old daughter, so doing all the normal family things you do in the household, packing the lunchbox, making sure the readers signed off, having breakfast as a family. and then getting her off to school. And so my day starts, I'm already thinking about science and balancing that with a family at the very start of the day, and then often at the end of the day as well when I go home and I'm picking her up from school, and we'll be together as a family, and there's dinner and nighttime readers and baths, and then, she's in bed, and then, the laptop might come out again. So the typical day, there's no such thing really as a typical day, because that's the great thing about science, is that every day is a little bit different. So some days you're in the lab doing experiments, other days you're out giving a seminar and you might be talking to people or attending a conference, you might be locked away writing a paper or analysing data. And then there's the endless sort of seminars and meetings with students, and sort of facilitating their projects and keeping up with the literature and what's coming out across all over the world every day. WEHI is a medical research institution with about 1,000 staff. There are 90 labs here at the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute, working across a wide variety of disciplines, everything from structural biology and cell biology right through to cancer and immunology, which is what I work on, and virology and parasitology and molecular genetics. So we have 90 labs, which are supported by the core facilities such as proteomics facility, and then other core infrastructure, so the big sort of expensive pieces of equipment that people would use, such as microscopy and flow cytometry and things like that. So it's a very well-oiled machine. There's a lot of people that have to work and come together and work in teams, and I think that's an important point, because science isn't done in isolation. You need we often need larger and cross-disciplinary teams of people. For example, me as a biologist now, we have to work with physicists and engineers to build the latest cutting-edge microscopes that we need to get the resolution that we can to see proteins in cells and living cells, or to go deep into the tissue with a 2-photon microscope. So it's very cross-disciplinary, large teams working together, and of course all discoveries and innovations are driven from small incremental advances in knowledge. As a scientist, you get a result, and that piece of data then becomes a fact, and facts becomes a truth as we currently understand it. Of course, this is constantly changing, and then truth becomes wisdom, and wisdom becomes knowledge. And so, sort of these incremental, I guess, advances in science, it does come in relatively small steps, and I think that's really sort of hard for people to understand sometimes, is that, well, when are they just going to find the cure for this? And there's lots of little incremental advances made, every week, and then over a period of time we begin to really understand something in more detail.